What is up, everybody? It's Hunter. I'm back here again. Really sorry I did not deliver on my promise last week. I did not put out a video. Please don't kill me for that, but I did come up with a good concept here. Going to be focusing on Penn State football once again. Not talking about Sean Clifford, but going to be talking about the running back, Journey Brown, and whether or not I think he's bound for a breakout season this year. Before we do a deep dive into his film work, let's look at Journey Brown's stats from this past season in case you didn't really watch him play or maybe just need a little bit of a refresher here. He had 129 rushing attempts for 890 yards. That's 6.9 yards per carry. That is a really efficient mark. 12 rushing touchdowns to go along with that. Also had 15 catches for 134 yards. That's 8.9 yards per reception and another touchdown. Also, did not put the ball down at all. 0 fumbles last year. That is a really impressive number to look at. He had 5 multi-touchdown games as well, so he was very efficient. Had 100-plus rushing yards in 4 of his last 5 games of the season, so ended it on a high note for the Nittany Lions and came up big when they needed him the most. Also was 3rd in the Big Ten in rushing touchdowns last season, 5th in rushing yards, and he wasn't even the workhorse like a guy like Saquon Barkley, who had 217 rushing attempts his final season at Penn State. Miles Sanders had 220 attempts in his last season at Penn State. Penn State has a little bit more of a committee, a lot of guys that like to work into the rushing attack, but if Journey Brown gets more carries, I 100% expect his numbers to go up in the statistical categories that I mentioned just now. And when you look at Journey Brown, his best game when he was offensive MVP in the Cotton Bowl, he was damn near impossible to stop. Had 16 carries for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. And with that dominant performance, he set Penn State's single-game bowl record in rushing yards, passing Saquon Barkley's 194 yards against USC in that 2017 Rose Bowl game. And he was selected to numerous all-bowl teams as well. So Journey Brown, when the lights were the brightest, he showed up for the Nittany Lions and produced. And when given the opportunity to be the lead guy, he almost always showed up for Penn State. And under new OC Kurt Sriracha, who was the offensive coordinator of Minnesota this past season, he got a guy in Rodney Smith. He finished with 228 carries for 1,163 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. And Rodney Smith was an undrafted player this upcoming draft, and he's now currently signed with the Carolina Panthers. Journey Brown, with all due respect to Rodney Smith, has a much higher ceiling, so if he gets even somewhat close to that workload that we saw Smith have with the Gophers, I think Journey Brown, there is almost no excuse for him to not be a star player for Penn State. So now we're going to go into Journey Brown's film. We're going to talk about his strengths first. Let's start things off on a positive note, I guess. And the thing that stands out to me the most, he has great fundamentals. Obviously, he was really well coached at Penn State, and he's currently there, so he's still being really well coached with the Nittany Lions program there. And it's just, he does a little bit of everything really well. For one thing that stands out to me is his use of his stiff arm, his left hand being able to shed off defenders and fight for extra yardage. You love to see that out of a running back. His ability to read defenses at the line of scrimmage also stands out to me. He makes great cuts, has great patience once he hits the holes. His ability to maintain balance after contact, not a guy who you can take down easily. He's very smooth running laterally as well, being able to stay upright, and as a result, he's able to kick it to the outside for multiple big play opportunities. And overall, Journey Brown just has a great feel for the game. You just can't teach that. He's a really smart, cerebral player, has a great feel for the game, great running back instincts out there, and you love to see it. Now, I think for most people, the common person that watches Penn State football, the thing that stands out with Journey Brown is the speed. You just can't deny it. You can't teach speed. He has it. He was a track athlete in high school. Apparently, he can run a sub 4.340. I'm not so sure about that. That is really, really fast. I mean, that's elite speed. But when you watch his film, he definitely runs sub 4.4. I would bet money on that. And as a result, I think he's probably going to be the most explosive player on Penn State's offense this year. They don't have KJ Hamler anymore, and I think Journey Brown in the run game is the fastest guy Penn State has on that entire offense, because once he hits the open field, he's gone. You're not getting him. Once he sees grass, he's going all the way and scoring. And to give some numbers to back it up, he had 10 rushes of 20+ yards last season, 8 rushes of 30+ yards, 4 rushes of 40+ yards, and 2 rushes of 50+ yards. So if you don't want to take my word for it, that's okay, but men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Shout out Jay-Z there. And the thing that I really liked about Journey Brown watching him, but Penn State didn't use him enough here, is his ability to be a factor in the pass game. And he has great hands. And he doesn't get a lot of opportunities here, but I think his ability to make guys miss in the open field, Penn State needs to utilize that more, not only in the run game, but in the pass game. And I think if they're able to do that, I think we'll see Journey Brown add a whole nother element and be a true 3-down back that Penn State hasn't had this past season. Journey Brown obviously is a pretty well-rounded running back, but there's definitely some things he still needs to work on. You can take his word for it. He wants to improve on his lower body strength and be able to kind of take more contact. I definitely don't think that's a bad thing. At 216 pounds, he's definitely not the beefiest running back, and he probably never will be, but maybe hitting the weight room a little bit will help him enforce contact rather than just absorbing it. And he's not great in the pass game either in terms of pass blocking, pass protection. Penn State's offensive line was awful last year. They have 4 or 5 starters returning, though, so I can't imagine them being any worse than they were. So if Journey Brown, if he does, in fact, add lower body strength, maybe that helps him there, but definitely need to improve on that technique as well. And Penn State's strength coach, Dwight Galt, he had some really high praise for Journey Brown during the offseason when Penn State was still on campus before coronavirus training. He said, quote, "Journey's more old-fashioned. He's just been punching the clock every week, every month, for now almost 3 years. He went from benching 295 to 395 when he got to Penn State. Now he squats, and he also squats over 500 pounds now. So that's also pretty impressive. Clearly, he's been putting in the work, like Galt just said. And for a guy who was a 3-star athlete coming out of high school, he really has improved a lot, and he's definitely proved a lot of doubters wrong. So, and again, you gotta credit Penn State's coaching for really being able to bring the best out of these guys, but Journey Brown is a really talented guy in his own right, so let's give him his roses while it's due. So, like I alluded to before, it seems like Penn State is becoming a breeding ground for running backs. I know the school is historically known as LBU, as they've always produced really good linebackers, but I don't know, these long boys are for real. They're really kind of changing the tone here at Penn State as we see Saquon Barkley, 2nd overall pick in the draft, winning Rookie of the Year. Miles Sanders had a really promising rookie season. I expect him to even break out more in his 2nd year with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Journey Brown can kind of follow that same trajectory, to be honest with you. He has a lot of those same fundamentals. He's extremely athletic, really, really fast, and that's kind of the running backs that NFL teams want to invest in. So I know he's being a little bit slept on by, the national media in terms of the best running backs in college football, but Journey Brown should be considered up there. I do think he's a future star for Penn State. I think he could be that unsung hero that a lot of people aren't really talking about entering this season. Obviously, they got guys like Pat Fryermuth, they have Sean Clifford there, but Journey Brown's really good. And yes, he's in a committee, so maybe his numbers won't be as inflated as other guys that are, in that same kind of level of talent, but Journey Brown's really efficient. He makes the most out of his opportunities, and when Penn State needs a play the most out of their running back, they almost always go to Journey Brown. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. I'm sorry I did not put out a video last week. That's my bad, but I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I've been doing a kind of a Penn State trend. I don't know if my next video will be that as well. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but just keep a lookout for that. And again, thank you for all the support, and stay safe out there.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.